Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And boy, I meant to have this up on Friday, and I just got busy doing other stuff. And it's like, it's one of those things where you're kind of doing stuff, but then it's like, well, did you really do anything? Because you really didn't do anything you wanted to do, but you got stuff done. Eh, Anyway, this is from Transformers 1 Studio Series Starscream, deluxe class figure, which I'm very surprised about. I'll be very honest with you. I thought we would have gotten this as a Voyager, a heavy retool of Transformers 1 Sentinel Prime. That's because back in the Transformers 1 kid friendly line, we had a Starscream as one of those little action battler figures that was a retool of Sentinel. And I kind of want to say, wasn't there a cog changer too that was a retool that was Starscream, or there was supposed to be one? Anyway, I guess the popularity and design was such that they went ahead and had the space and the budget to do this as a deluxe class figure. Now, let me say right off the top that I do like this figure, but there are some little quibbles with it that I just think are the nature of the figure, and a lot of that has to do with vehicle mode. And as you can see, a tab right there doesn't sit in all the way, even though the wings are level and even. And if you come underneath here, you'll notice that towards the front of the nose cone, the fuselage there, those tabs, they are tabbed in, but they're tabbed in on an angle, so some of the tabs sit out. And I believe that there's some play to the wings. Maybe that's intentional, maybe not. I'm not sure. But this is how I tend to display the figure, and maybe that's what you guys will do too. Other than that, the instructions are actually pretty good. The one thing that they kind of get wrong is how the guns here come together underneath. They actually kind of skip a step, merge a couple steps, but this is quite swooshable. It is a nice substitute for the Tetrajet design. And there are some actually interesting steps to the transformation. So, other than that, and I do like this off-color, like a like a heavily creamed coffee, whitish brown to the wings and the what would be normally be the white parts. It's interesting how they find variations of the color to Starscream. But anyway, to get into transformation, the first thing you want to do is, what I would recommend is actually opening up this panel right here. And you're going to be like, well, wait a minute. If you see later on, you're going to be like, well, why are you doing this first? Well, that actually will help. That's how those tabs tab in. And just to unpeg this red section and rotate it out makes it a lot easier if that canopy is open. You can go ahead and actually close it back up. I know, crazy. The next thing you want to do is fold up the wings here and then untab them from this the front and just kind of like wiggle them out of the way of sorts. Same thing on this side. Just, it's going to be one of these things where you try to just keep them out of the way until the end. How you do that is up to you. Next, what you want to do is come underneath here and unpeg the arms from the side of the leg. It's actually the way they tab in. There's like a couple tabs. They actually go into the slots on that hinge right there. So that's actually kind of cool. Once you have that done, fold down the feet, bring them out all the way, or I should say what will be the feet, and then come up here, bring down those side panels we were just talking about, reach in, untab the boosters from there, and then tab them into the back of the foot, forming the heels. At this point, what we can do is you want to straighten out those panels I was just talking about. Oop, and grab it by the front section, which will split everything open, and that gun will come out. I mean, that has to happen eventually. But go ahead and the legs tab into the butt. So you want to untab them and then bring them down. You also, in doing so, will unpeg them. Now, when going to vehicle mode, I find it a lot easier to not follow the instructions and just Do the legs one at a time, swing them out, um, swing them up into place, and then tab them together. And as you're doing that, you might just close the back panel like so. So there you have the legs done. And no ankle articulation, but they do have a natural tilt to them. Now, originally, what would be next is you would then open up this front section to remove this gun. And the instructions also show you doing this without these attached. And this is where the instructions actually get this wrong. You actually, if you're going to, they have you put the guns in and have them facing outward. You actually want the guns facing down like that when you put them in. So you're going to rotate these shoulder panels down and then close the panel, and it'll soft tab into place. Like I said, you can do this with the guns attached, and that's how I would do it. Now we actually come to what would be the trickier part of the transformation. So now we are going to officially open up that top canopy. You want to bring this whole section down, and then you want to separate the nose cone from the fuselage part. And basically what you want to do then is come in and lift up that nose cone, that canopy there, flip up the nose cone just for your own sake. This piece right here, the first time I had to do it, I had to use a lot of force to get it to snap into place, but get that up. And now what you're going to do is, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. There are tabs on that nose cone, right, let me bring it out again, right there, that have to fold up and go behind the ridging there. And what that will do is, and then you want to have this folded in such a way that and of course this might pop off during the whole rigmarole of it. So just, you can snap that back into place. Of course, it's one of those situations where there isn't a sturdy place to hold on. There we go. So you fold that up. Oh, try not to, you don't want that to tab in per se. But, and it's all has to do with the angling here, and I was hoping this would be a little smoother to do, but there we go. Okay, so fold that up, and then that'll tab in like that. And basically, you have this on an angle, and then this comes straight down, where that canopy collapses upward to go into position. Now what you want to do is, the head is on a ball joint, but that ball joint is on a stem, and you want to push that out because there's a little nub that stem will tab into, and that's how the head will secure into place. And of course we'll talk about that head in a second. At this point you can close up that back panel, you can tab these red sections into the side here using those side tabs, and now for the wings you want to rotate them around, and they'll actually tab into place folding forward, and then you can spread them out how you see fit. You know, you can have, if you want to have them a little angled back a little, you can definitely do that. Give yourself some arm room. And for this, you can then store that. There's a little groove right there. But of course, I'm sure some of you already know what's going to go on with that. There we go. But yeah, here is Starscream in its robot mode. And right off the bat, the one thing that it reminds me of, and you're going to tell me if I'm crazy or not, does this not give you vibes of a G1 styled Transformers Prime Starscream? Just the very that just popped up, but the very thin, lithe design here. Oh, and the knees do, for whatever reason, lock into place in robot mode, so that is kind of cool. But it's just like, you get that very thin, whirly, not whirly, but like snake-like posing from that was indicative of that character. And I just think if we're going to do a G1 version, this is what it would look like. And by the way, if you don't have that Prime First Edition Starscream, do try to check out that mold. It's one of the best deluxe molds ever. But that's what I kind of get from that. Now, of course, everyone's going to talk about, and has been talking about, the head, the mouth, the lips. It really doesn't look that bad in person. And if you look at the box, it is designed. I mean, that's what's on the box is what you see in hand. And I guess you can just say it's one of those situations where Hasbro was working with an early design that they had to work with to get the figure ready. And as is often the case, and why Hasbro doesn't put their foot down, I'll never know. The design changed, but they had to go into production. Now, I don't know if I really want to see like a running change of this Starscream down the line with a different face. That's more accurate to the movie. I mean, because kind of also looks like Steve Buscemi. I mean, we have Star Shemi, Steve Scream, Star Buscemi. I mean, but in terms of articulation, you do have ball joints here in the shoulders, bicep swivel, 90-degree bend at the elbow, ball joint at the hip. You do have a thigh swivel, which I do want to point out the way the cut is, you do sometimes run into an issue where this piece right here where my finger is will rotate independent of the leg, and that can cause problems lining things up for the transformation. But with the way the leg pegs in, it kind of like straightens itself out. 90-degree bend at the knee, which we talked about. Nothing further down. Now, some people are speculating that they've taken out the ankle pivot and the wrist swivels as budgeting measures. I'm saying that was probably just the nature of the transformation. They kind of felt that was a little bit easier to do. I mean, I always will err on the side of having a little bit of an easier transformation than, having more like extra articulation that realistically, how often are you going to use? The best thing here is that, going back to the head, it is on a very expressive ball joint. You can do a lot with it. If you want to detach it, you can, but I think it does enough, like right here. Now, going back, I told you we can store that little blaster there on the back, but you can also go ahead. This whole section tabs out, and you have this combined blaster, which I have to say, the photos, because of the color of the background, made it look a lot worse than it is in hand. It's actually not that bad. But you can, of course, separate the guns, rotate that around, and then this will be a blaster as well. That little tab is designed to peg into a round hole. And then, of course, you do have the shoulder guns, the null rays, which you can rotate forward. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do believe that is accurate to how they worked. Personally, I've never been a fan of a Starscream with handheld weapons, so I would just really keep this all stored in the back here, which is very handy, by the way. I do appreciate that they thought about doing that, and just use the figure with the guns pointed forward. But I think that's about it for the review. I'm not as critical of this figure as other people have been, especially when it comes to the look of the head. I mean, if that's something that's going to bother you, then yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy this figure. But I mean, how often do we really stare directly into the faces of our figures? And even then, it's still not that bad. I just noticed there's a little that wasn't tabbed in all the way, and now, oh boy. So it's really not that bad. Other than that, the transformation, I have seen some other reviews where like that back canopy piece, the arms, the wings, don't peg in as well, and people have issues with trying to figure out what is the right way to peg it in. It doesn't bother me. So there's that. Hasbro has said they are committed to doing the rest of the Seekers, and that each one will have its own head or something, and maybe some other retooling. So I'll be interested in seeing that. I don't know if I would pick this up again if it's like if it's more of a straight G1 Starscream colors, but I would pick up at least a Thundercracker version, just because depending on how the blue comes out. Because as we all know, I'm a sucker for the shade of blue. Now, I got this from Big Bad Toy Store. They actually got their shipment in a couple months earlier. So that's where it's available right now. Other than that, I don't know of any other places that are shipping them out now. I don't even know if it's showing up in retail. So keep in mind of that. I mean, if you want to wait, you can definitely wait for like stores like Amazon and Target to get it in. I don't think it's like a must-have, must-experience right away type of deal. But yeah, that's about it. So if you like this review, like, comment, and subscribe. I always appreciate the views, the likes, comments, and subscriptions. Help to communicate to YouTube through the algorithm that my channel should be exalted and held upon high. I also have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. You know the deal. It's $1 a month, $12 a year. No thrills, no tears, no special rewards. All you're doing is helping me help you to help me help you bring figures like this to you, as well as keeping up the infrastructure of the channel. But as I always say, if you can't afford the $1 a month or $12 a year, your views are more than thanks enough. Patreon is just a cherry on top of an already generous sundae, and I really do mean that. So, once again, this is your old pal Chuck for Transformers 1 Starscream, or Star Buscemi. We will see you next time.